Michael Lee from The Athletic joining us now here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline as the Sixers last night kind of imposed their will. Michael, I want to get your take on this. Did the Sixers kind of click right before our very eyes last night?
Before I answer that question, I just want to give you a props for playing Tribe Called Quest. I don't know if y'all know that was my favorite group of all time, but I appreciate the music to give me hype before you started.
Mike is fierce on the rejoin, man. He has all the good stuff from the 90s and early 2000s.
Oh, my God. The little 1993. I took us all back there.
That was my jam. But yeah, to answer your question, yes. I mean, the one thing is it's like it all starts with Joe. And Joel Embiid is, he's been trying for a couple of games just find his rhythm to figure out how to take it to Marc Gasol. And he did it. And, he had 18 points in his first 18 minutes, and his team just fed off of that. And that's what's needed for this team to really start clicking, is to have the biggest, baddest player on the floor, just say, hey, nothing can stop them. And they'll feel like, hey, nothing can stop them. And that's the way they played in Game 3. That last possession, offensive possession in Game 2, where Embiid threw the pump fake on Gasol and then went in for that strong layup to sort of seal that win. You could see the carryover. He had 3 days to sort of prepare for this game and figure out, how the Raptors were defending him. And he was just unleashed. And now they're using more pick and roll sets with Jimmy Butler and him playing off of each other. Ben Simmons has sort of just become moved into a defensive stopper role and has sort of lost his, cachet, I guess, from the offensive end. But he's giving them what they need. He's making Kawhi work for his shots. And the team is just sort of accepting, like, this is what we have to do to win this series. They had to win ugly in Game 2. And then in Game 3, they got the big fella going, and everybody else just got a chance to eat.
Yeah, Michael, it seemed like Game 2 for the Sixers was about the adjustments that Brett Brown made defensively, specifically on Siakam, and getting guys more involved. And I feel like this win last night was more about the talent that the Sixers have, and we've talked about whether they would gel or not in the playoffs, really shining through from 1 to 5 in the starting lineup, as opposed to the Raptors, who feel like they're getting great performances out of Kawhi every night and just not getting enough out of their other supporting cast who are starters, and even their bench, which is supposed to be good. It just feels like the talent of the Sixers right now is overwhelming Toronto. Is that a fair assessment?
The talent's overwhelming, but to me, the main thing that's overwhelming is the size. The size of the Sixers is what really blew me away yesterday. Just seeing how much bigger Embiid is than Gasol, how much bigger, everybody on the floor is. Ben Simmons. I mean, Kawhi's a great player, but Ben Simmons is 6'10", towers over him. If you look across the floor, every single matchup they have Jimmy Butler towering over Kyle Lowry. The only disadvantage they really have is with Tobias Harris on Marc Gasol, but it's one they can live with, because Gasol's not going to be a guy who's going to try to take 20 shots and just pound you in the low block all day. Mm-hmm. He doesn't play that way. So, and then when you come to the bench, Norm Powell 6'3", Fred VanVleet 5'11", Serge Ibaka is 6'9" at center. So the Sixers, they look like giants, and that size, that physicality, is what overwhelmed them in Game 3. Because they couldn't get to the basket. Siakam, tried to take it to Embiid twice and just had his stuff snatched out the air, just because of the size. And I think that's really what the Raptors had to contend with, because you can make all the adjustments in the world. You can, change who defends whom. And right now, the Sixers have a huge advantage in who's the biggest.
Michael Lee from The Athletic. Now, last night, you got the fun-loving, as you wrote about, the fun-loving Joel. And when he's like that, they're tough. But how about his confidence and how it has trickled down to the rest of this team now? Because in that locker room last night, I got to imagine that this team feels like that they can make this a 3-1 series on Sunday if they continue to play this way. Because it sounds like they are buying into this defensive talk that it has really happened since Game 5 against the Nets.
Yeah, I mean, they've been defending on another level. In game 1 where the Raptors got loose, I mean, it was just a situation where Kawhi Leonard and Pascal Siakam were just hitting some shots that, they just few shots you got to live with, but nobody else killed them. And, now they sort of said, Kawhi, we'll just let you get yours. I mean, because I think what Kawhi is doing this series is phenomenal. I mean, he has 113 points on 69 shots, which I'm just like, wow. That is that's machine caliber production. But they can live with that and, just force the other guys to beat you. And right now, none of them seem capable of it. Siakam is probably going to win Most Improved, but no one knows right now if he's a role player or if he's a star. And, this is a chance to kind of show that he is. Kyle Lowry's not really playing at the level that you would need him to as an all-star. Danny Green finally hit some shots, but they were inconsequential. And I just feel like, and Marc Gasol's older, so who do they have that can really overwhelm the Sixers on the offensive end other than Kawhi? The Sixers have figured that out. And now the Raptors will have to make an adjustment, but I don't know what adjustment is going to be made, to get them to hate shots. It's like they just haven't been hitting them.
Right.
And the Sixers have been, putting clamps down. A lot of it, like I said earlier, is because of the size that they bring. It's hard to shoot if the dude's towering over you. You can't get the shot above him.
Now, last night, Brett Brown was asked, when physically healthy, is Joel Embiid the best player in this series? And his answer was very quick and simple. Yes. Kawhi Leonard's on the court, but is Joel Embiid the best player in this series?
Well, Kawhi's been the best player over the course of these first 3 games. But if Joel's going to play like he did in Game 3 and basically give Kawhi a run for the best player, then this series was pretty much a wrap. Because the sort of impact that he has just from a physical presence, and what he gives him on the defensive end, and just on the offensive end, the fact that he can just do things in a low block, command a double team. If you send more than one defender at him, then that sort of falls into the Sixers' hands because that means somebody else will get an open look. And I think that's sort of what they want. And but if Embiid's going to play like he did, in Game 3, then yeah. But he hasn't played like that, this whole series. I mean, Game 1 and Game 2, he really struggled. You could blame Game 1 on the knee, Game 2 on whatever's going on with his stomach. But he figured some things out, and it just felt like a celebration. It was like every time he was doing one of those celebrations and shimmying or, holding his cup in his hand behind his ear, it sort of felt like he was yelling to the Raptors, I figured y'all out. I figured y'all out. That's all I could think he was saying in his head every time he was doing something, because to go from, shooting 7 for 25 in his first 2 games against this squad to, all of a sudden going for 33, 10, and 5, that's like you've really figured something out. And I think for Joel, it was just a breakthrough that was needed for him mentally because, if there's anybody that he struggled with in the NBA, it's Al Horford and Marc Gasol. And to finally get the upper hand on Marc Gasol, it's got to do wonders for his confidence.
It sounds like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Mike, but I know any series can kind of turn on a dime, but it does feel, though, like the Raptors are, I don't want to say broken, but I mean, I think you saw the emotions get the best of a couple of guys like Kyle Lowry last night. It does seem like they are really searching for an answer fruitlessly at this point. Is that fair?
Well, they were the second best team, all in the East, and they could have been the best player, for most of it. But I just feel like, these things can change in one game. If the Raptors come out, and get an ugly win in Game 4, then it's all even, and there's nothing you can really do about it. But there is a lot that I would be encouraged by if I'm a Sixers fan or Sixers player, that there are certain things that are kind of trending in their direction that would give you confidence. But, like I said, in the playoffs, things can change. But right now, just what my eyes showed me, yesterday, was that this is a bigger team, a deeper team, which we didn't think going in. But, adding Mike Scott to the fold, having him healthy, getting these play from James Ennis. I mean, I think going into the series, everyone was saying that the Raptors bench was better than the Sixers bench, but that hasn't been the case. And when you have production from your second unit, Greg Monroe, a guy who was signed, at the end of the season, for him to come in, give them, some quality minutes, using some of his institutional knowledge from playing with the Raptors earlier this year, that's been a benefit to the team. So they look like they have a lot more depth. But again, I don't want to overreact too much just because, you could have done the same thing to game one and been like, oh, it's going to be a short series. Days can switch, and with a lot of days prepared for game four, it's really important for the Sixers to try to win the next game on Sunday, because I honestly believe that whoever wins game four is probably going to win the series. And that means that's because game four is really what you're made of. Either you're going to step back and say, we here and we're not going to go away, or you're going to say, nah, this is our series, we're snatching it. And that's what the Sixers have the opportunity to do, because winning in Toronto is not going to be easy. And if they win game four, then I think to have a broken team going home, and that's sort of the mindset that the Sixers are going to have.
Sunday, 3:30, right here, 97.3 ESPN. Michael Lee from The Athletic, at Mr. Michael Lee on Twitter. Here, I'll bang you out with this. Here you go. We'll try for the way out for you, Michael.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you always jumping on board for the playoffs here. We'll see you on Sunday, Ben.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Mr. Michael Lee.